Calls to support striking workers received a standing ovation from Labour members right here at this Liverpool conference as a bacon butty was offered to tempt Sir Keir Starmer to visit a picket line. I think it might take a bit more than that. Wasn't it a bacon sandwich that it did for Ed Miliband? Anyway, earlier this year, Labour leader Sir Keir was warned off frontbenchers from joining picket lines. He even sacked his shadow transport minister in July for giving unauthorised media interviews from an RMT demonstration. There are more rail strikes to come this autumn, by the way, so strap yourselves in, people. We're not done yet, but I've been finding out if there's much support for strike action here at the Labour Party conference. I think we can all guess the answer to this, but I thought I'd do it anyway. Here are the results.
Yeah, they are absolutely annoying, but there is an absolute need for them to happen. The only way workers are going to get represented properly is if they take their own voices, use them collectively, take action and make change happen.
It's always going to be a provocative question with rail workers in particular, because yes, rail workers are, very much, the working class, but they serve other members of the working class.
I was going to say, they could stop you going to work.
Yeah, exactly. And so this, again, it's a provocative, emotional question for Labour.
If rail strikes massively had an impact on you personally getting to work every single day, would you lose support for various different reasons?
I'm in a fortunate position where I don't rely on the railways every day to get to work. Yeah, but again, it's where do you draw the line? How long is a piece of string? I think if it was becoming, say, at the moment, we're averaging, 1 or 2 days strike a month at the moment, maybe more than that. I think if we're getting to the point where, it's becoming like a weekly thing or a fortnightly thing, I think then support would quite quickly drain away.
I think it's really inconvenient if you can't put food on the table for your family.
Yes, exactly. No, I'm fully supportive of the rail strikes. And yes, some people will be inconvenienced. That's the point of striking.
Yeah.
If there weren't some inconvenience, then there'd be no point to it. But like Kate says, I think, it's more inconvenient not to be able to afford to feed your family or to put the heating on.
Some people are saying, so what they want is in line with inflation. Inflation's massive. That would be obviously a massive taxpayer-funded pay rise. It's a lot of money for the taxpayer to pick up on top of everything else.
A lot of money to cut taxes for high earners, isn't there?
So you'd fund it by taxing the rich?
Yes.
I would reverse those cuts.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. A cross-section of society here at Labour Party conference. Well, joining me now is Karen Rose, the president of the Communication Workers Union, who are behind the Royal Mail strikes, I believe. Thank you very much for joining us. First and foremost, then, why are you striking?
Well, we're striking. Initially, it was about pay. Basically, Royal Mail have imposed a 2% pay rise on their employees,
right,
which quite clearly is a pay cut in real terms. Doesn't go anywhere near addressing the cost of living crisis, and that's basically what began the dispute.
Should public sector workers be immune from the cost of living crisis?
Public sector workers?
Yeah.
I think workers should be immune from the cost of living crisis. Look, where people can afford to pay, where companies can afford to pay, I think they should. And I quite clearly, in the case of Royal Mail and the case of BT, where we're also in dispute on behalf of our BT and Openreach workers, those companies can afford to pay. They can afford to pay more than they have offered the workers at the moment. So what's clear is that where people can afford to pay, where companies can afford to pay to mitigate the cost of living and to mitigate the cost of living crisis, they should.
Okay, all right. So basically what you're saying is that you think that any company that can afford to should pay, but isn't it a sliding scale in terms of what they can actually afford? Because doesn't that just completely stifle wealth creation and ambition, really? Why would you want to start up a company if you know that any time that times are hard, you're going to end up having to shove a load of cash at your workers?
But that's why I said, if they can afford it. And you see, in Royal Mail and in the case of BT, those are two companies who can afford it. They have both made enormous profits, chosen to give bigger shares to the shareholders than they needed to, and they made that choice. It was a significant choice that they made, and then not rewarded the workers, who are actually the people who have created the profit.
Isn't Royal Mail stifling and affecting workers themselves? Because, workers rely on the Royal Mail, and then you lot decide that you're going to take a day off or a few days off, and packages don't get delivered and all this stuff, and it's working people who suffer.
Well, I don't know. Look, our workers, right, the people who are our members of the CWU, it's not an easy choice to make to take strike action. As trade unions, it's a last resort. It's never the first thing we go to. We always want to negotiate. We're certainly open to negotiation at the moment in all of the disputes. It's the employers, actually, that are not talking to us at the moment. They're the ones that are not doing anything. They're not even opening talks in order to mitigate the strikes or to stop the strikes or to have discussion, consultation, negotiation. Ordinary people quite clearly rely on the services that the workers that we represent supply.
Are you not concerned that this might lead to increased importation of cheap foreign labour as opposed to the workforce they've already got? They go, look, this lot are continuing to go on strike. Let's bring in some people who won't.
Well, you said cheap foreign labour, right? So I think we all know that there's a problem with labour supply in the UK at the moment.
They're not at work.
There is a problem with labour supply in the UK at the moment. But I think that workers have to be able to make a stand at some point. That is what the members of the CWU are doing at the moment. They're making a stand. It is a last resort, but it is the only thing that they can now do because everything else failed. And you see, these are people who are becoming quite fearful about what the future holds. These are people who are telling us, and our members are telling us, there was one young woman, for example, that I had an email from recently, who said to me, I do not know how I'm going to afford to put the fuel in the car to be able to get myself to work in order to earn the money to put food on the table and to heat my home. So these are people who are very, very concerned about what the future holds because the predictions are, and we've seen the news about interest rates going up, people's mortgages going up, all of those things that I think ordinary working people in the UK right now are particularly fearful about. They are worried about what's going to happen, not just now in the next 3 months, but they're worried about what's going to happen in 6 months' time or even next year. They're getting really, really fearful about it. And the only way, and this government, of course, their answer to that is to give tax cuts that actually benefit the super rich, as far as I'm concerned, the uber rich, the people who actually could afford to get by and get through without any of those things.
Can I ask, because we're seeing strikes left, right and centre now, I quite literally can't move for strikes at the minute, right? A lot of people are saying, hang on a minute, this to me looks like a coordinated attempt to bring down a government. Is it really all about the workers? I
don't think it is a coordinated attempt. You see, what it is it is a common ground that workers are facing. So the reason why you're seeing it is because it's affecting all workers. So all workers are being affected by the cost of living crisis. People in Britain, I heard somebody speaking from the rostrum today and they said Britain needs a pay rise. Yes, they do. Workers in Britain need a pay rise.
You know what I'm going to have to ask you now, don't you? How much do you earn?
How much do I earn?
Yeah.
Well, I actually work for BT.
All right.
So I'm actually employed. I'm not employed by the CWU. I'm actually a BT employee. So I earn. Do you know what? I actually don't actually know what my salary is. I think it's around. I think it's around 40,000. Okay. But that is the job that I was employed to do when I worked for the company, and obviously that's the grade that I get paid of, and I still get paid by BT.
I understand that. I'm being a little bit cheeky asking you there, but I've got to ask. I will get hammered if I didn't ask. But no, thank you very, very much for your time. Really appreciate it, and hopefully see you again. Oh, and also, sorry, are you responsible? So we're at Liverpool, a conference centre here in Liverpool for Labour Party conference. So they have different stalls around. Is it your stall that's got the Royal Mail van?
No. That's the Royal Mail.
I know, but I wondered whether or not you'd brought it with you because you're representing them. No. So where are your stalls dotted around?
Our stall is just around the corner here,
right.
And it's bright pink.
It's the bright pink stall. Okay. Have you got a favourite stall here? We were talking about the Falkland Island ones.
Well, CWU is my favourite stall, obviously.
Apart from that, come on. What's your best freebie that you've had so far here?
I haven't had any freebies.
You've not had a freebie?
No.
I got a cake. Come off it. Anyway, there you go. All right. Thank you very, very much. Great to have you on. I've enjoyed that. That was Karen Rose there, who is president of the Communication Workers Union. What do you make of all of that? GBViews at gbnews.uk. This is, of course, GB News Live.